you're enjoying today's program, please contribute to the station. We are looking for sponsors. If you like to sponsor and you want to do this, go right ahead. Call us up. And you can contact us, and we can contact Mark or Eric, or you can just go to www.sepianc.com radio and look for the contact information. Or you can just contact us and we'll pass the information on. You know, our email is mwr@myself.com.
Yourself?
Okay.
Myself.
Myself, yes. So
we were talking about like if the energy that's emanating in a room, if people are fighting and you walk in and you don't want to be there. I mean, feng shui is all about
yes, it is
creating good energy.
And so they would say there's certain points in the house. I think it's the Bagua, isn't it? They measure it. It's
yeah, the Bagua map.
And then the map tells that there's certain points in the house, and like we call it the wheel, the wheel of life. And like the money corner is in one position, the relationship corner is another, a color is associated with it, and if the elements, and that's what's very important, is if you have too much chrome, too much metal in a particular area, it'll take away, and because metal is supposed to cut, it's supposed to be, like for instance, if you're more of a metal energy, you'll be a type that will always have a spotless house, you don't hoard, you don't keep nothing, you give it away or sell it, whatever, and less is best for you. So there's actually a characterization for an element. A person is an element and can be, and you can swap in and out of the element quite a bit. So, you know what I'm thinking?
I don't know, but Octarine has some information.
Do tell!
So she was talking about, we were talking about the spike of energy, and she said there was a spike of in the electromagnetic field at exactly 9 a.m. on 9/11, registering what they believe to be the combined thought energy of the collective emotions. And so we asked, well, who's in charge of measuring those? And she said the acronym is GOES, which is Geostationary Satellite System.
So they do measure different things on the planet, and that's really cool. So, as we goes, I have no idea. I'm doing transition in my head. I have no idea why I'm being put into this. I'm trying to do my best to get rid of
I was going to say, is a transitional phrase, so you're studying, you were transitioning.
Sometimes you just want to smack her. Just kidding. Oh, that's the other thing. When we say phrases like we're in a smacker, or what you looking at, there are old phrases of how you were commanded to behave. Or you don't like something, or you're supposed to make it funny. That's great, but when you have certain behaviors like this that you don't want anymore, you know, yes, Jen likes to, she's very comedic woman, and what was the word we were working on, not pathetic, sarcasm. And when she uses sarcasm, when it's the cost of somebody else's expense, what happens is that it's important to understand that she done nothing wrong. The behavior's not wrong. We're not doing right and wrong. But her third option is to decide if she wants to mature, grow out of a specific behavior. So that's when you use resolution-oriented solutions to be able to say, I would like to upgrade this part of myself.
You saying I ain't mature?
I knew she was going to go there. But that's
exactly.
If she was
the whole idea, is to just say, wait a minute. Wait, I have the option to upgrade this because why did I do it? And so we investigated why this was going on in my life and why I chose to do this. It's like, all right, let's upgrade. Let's figure out how to do that.
And a lot of times we'll do jam sessions just so that we can get through and find out all the different perspectives on it. And then whatever pops, then we take and heal what we need to do.
Well, and I was also, you talk about behaviors that you don't want to do or that you're commanded to do or that you're programmed to behave in a certain way. Some friend in my life was talking about how they were in this situation where somebody sat down next to them in this public transportation, and that they just felt obligated to have to put up with it. And so, and I've completely been there. It's, well, what do you do? What's polite? Do you want to be? Are you going to be rude? Are you going to be mean? And so it's those social obligations of, I was trained to be polite. You have to have manners, and you have to talk to people a certain way.
Yeah, and you lose your rights.
And then you lose your. And so I have to give up this part of myself because I have to entertain and like whatever this person that's they're being rude, but yet I'm the one who has to suffer in this situation.
Because that is what we're told, that that's the right thing to do. And what I learned is that I've been in that comfortable position all the time, because if I get up and move, then all of a sudden if they say, well, what's wrong? You know,
what do I smell?
Aren't you rude? I mean, she was in the bar one time, hanging out with her friends, and somebody was trying to set her up with somebody, you know, she doesn't want to be rude, but some of these people that like, hey, you need to go and talk to Jen, and when you smell their breath 10 miles away, or whatever else that she may not be in sync with, so when they come to sit at the table, she didn't say hi and have a chit-chat with them, she was just working on her phone. Now, she has that space if she wanted to, because she was doing it before they came over. Now, here's the thing. Immediately, how soon after they sat down that they had to say something nasty to you, just so that they can condition?
Because I wasn't participating with them in what they were talking about because, oh, here, you should meet my friend. Well, what if I'm not interested? And then I become the bitch in the situation because I'm not interested, because you decided that this was important for me to do. And I don't feel like I need to honor that because I have every right not to. I don't have to talk to everybody. But then all of a sudden that's rude. And so I was just, so I didn't want to outright say, oh gee, I'm not interested, thank you for coming over, because that's not always the polite thing. But then it's like, so I was texting, I'm like, all right, well, I won't engage. If I don't engage, then maybe that's a way to get out of the situation. But then that was rude.
All right, so what the thing is that nobody can. Oh, hold on, just get it here. No one can show up to you any other way than you let them, as well as no one can be more, or to infuriate you. How does that go with Eleanor Roosevelt? What did she say? She said, I have it up on my wall somewhere.
Oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
nobody,
come on, I have it somewhere sitting here.
Nobody has the right to make you feel a certain way. Oh my gosh.
I have it up on my wall, and do you think I can find it? That is
I don't know.
hilarious.
Well, you're...
no one can hurt you, make you feel inferior, intimidate without your consent. Oh, my head's spun.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if you don't engage, it's fine. I used to play an online role-playing game, EverQuest, and when I didn't have my little chat box down on, so I could listen to everybody. Sometimes it gets noisy even when you don't have the volume on, and there's just so much. So my husband was playing, and he goes, hey, did you notice this guy is saying nastiest things to you? I'm like, what guy? And so your character turns around to look to see what you
talking about?
You know, and then so I turned around and realized that this guy's trying to engage me, and when whatever the reason that I didn't engage him, he thought he had to be rude. I just turned around and walked away with my character. And I estimated inside myself, I hadn't had a clue what was going on, so I wasn't losing any power. I became the focus of his attention. You know, I thought, well, isn't that great that your world evolves around me? But why?
I appreciate that. Thank you for making me
Yes,
that important.
I do not want to be your star. So, you know, I just continued to walk on. It was very important to understand that I wasn't affected, and you don't have to be affected if you don't want to engage. And there's always a lot of memes on the website or on Facebook that talks about if you don't want to engage, don't engage. They can't take your power. If, you know, it takes two to fight, you're choosing. My brother, God rest his soul, had said one time, he had went to a bar, and he was sitting there, and this guy comes up to him, and he's drunk, and he's like, he wants to pick a fight with my brother. My brother turns to him, and he goes, oh, great. He says, go on outside, and if I'm not out there in 5 minutes, go ahead and start without me. And the guy literally thought, okay, so he goes outside. My brother just sat there. You know, that's it. And I thought that was so funny that it's followed me, and it's been with me for so long. You know, really, yeah, start without me. That's fine. But the encouragement, go ahead.
Well, and the other situation is that my went out dancing with friends, and one friend decided, oh, maybe I should join up with people, la 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 la, who do you find interesting? It's kind of like, well, I believe in synchronicity. I know, surprise, surprise. And so it's kind of like, well, if I'm supposed to meet somebody, you know, I go into spiritual investigator mode, and if they come over, that's fine. And if I feel called that I'm supposed to go over there, then I'll talk to them. But I don't need people sent over to me. But, you know, I was kind of entertaining this person, and so, you know, I learned in one movie, you call them a Monet. They look really good far away, but then once they come up closer,
Oh, God.
I know, that's even nicer. But so I'm like, so then he comes over and he asks to dance. Well, first of all, he asked to the wrong person. He asked our other friend, and she's like, what? And so then he's like, oh, no, I meant the other person. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's starting off on a good foot. So then we end up, and I'm like, okay, I will be nice and go out and dance with this person. And it was so, I wanted to puke.
I remember that, yes. But here's the thing.
But then it's like, so how do you gracefully get out of these situations?
Exactly.
But then it's also the law of attraction. What am I attracting at the same point in time?
Yeah, and if we're not looking at the law of attraction while we're pulling it in, it is the lesson that you're unlearning, and then it is, how can you have these beliefs and values, and somebody then comes up and says you have to do da-da-da-da-da, and you're like, but how do I say, no thank you? How do I gracefully just bow out? But it's that encouragement within yourself to stand up and to just be you, so they won't do this. You're not desperate, so we don't need to put that energy out there. Like, for instance, there are times that you can say, I don't want to do this, and then there are some times that you need excuses because people don't take no. I'll never hear, you're going to talk, Sam.
Oh, yeah, the idea of not taking no for an answer, and then they push, and they push, and they push, and they push, and it's like, finally,
then here comes the bitch.
Okay, you wanted to hear, I could go from 0 to bitch in 60 seconds. It's not what I like to do. I can. I've done it. You know.
Well, like you said, your friend on the train, she won't do that. She won't go to 0 to bitch in 60 seconds because it's not the polite way that she was taught.
Right, she has to be polite at the...
Well, like, here it's it's a lesson that I have to look at. And I teach class. I brought people together. They wanted to learn about empowerment through enlightenment, and so I teach this class. And then offline, I wanted people to have a safe environment that you can gather and communicate. But I don't want to be the hub where I have to, you pay me so much money in class to do what I do best, and then to do it free online. Why even come to class?
Mm-hmm.
I feel that the people that are in the class should sit there online and learn to communicate and do this instead of, I want to teach you to fish.
Yeah, start stepping up to say, okay, well, this is what I learned in class. How about we look at it this way? How about we look at it this way?
And it's like, okay, it's my group. I probably should say something. But then I feel like, no. Now, I also teach, when I teach, and then there's people said they wanted to get together because they miss each other. Well, then come to class. So I was going to start doing groups and things other than the side. But I thought, no, I don't really want to do that just yet. And then so somebody, they do once a month gatherings. And that tides them over for the following month. And that's fine. But, they want me to come. And I'm glad that they want me there. But at the same time, I have to heal something. And this is related to being burnt out. I did more than 7 years of free service. Hands-on healing, doing what I do best, and I got so burned out, I don't even like to do any hands-on healing. And I feel that when people start to talk to me and don't even consider the idea that I'm in business, nor do they want to set an appointment, because I'm giving it away free all the time. The problem is that this is what I live. I live it, breathe it, walk it, talk it all the time. I cannot stop myself from being who I am. And I was told, well, I just want a friend. What, you want a friend that lies? Do you want a friend that sits there and, let you stew in your shit? I mean, I am not the type of person that, you know, hey, if you want to do that, that's fine, but I will not stay around it for such a length of time. I'm not going to be drained by it. I'm not going to sit there and listen to your story 1,000 times. I will listen to you, what you need to do, but I am solution-oriented. That's what I do. And when these people, you know, they want the advice, but they don't know how to ask, or they'll just be blunt and just start telling me their story, because so many people are so used to just telling the story. I don't support hells.
Right, and
So,
that's what our group is. We sit there and say, we're not going to support your house. We'll sit there and listen. If you need to just, like, vent and unleash and this story,
you have to. Go.
You got to let it out. But we're not going to let you stew in it, and we're not going to support you being in that.
Because the spirits are going to come around and say, oh, tell her why she's projecting it. On a quantum level, this is what's happening. Do you want to do anything about it? I mean, I just, you know, year after year after year, my friend would constantly call me all the time, blah, 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 about our kids, blah, 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 about our husband, blah, 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 constantly bitch, moan, and cry. She says, why don't you ever call me up and have an issue? How come you never have issues? Well, I have issues, but at the same time, when they pop up, I don't waste them. And then I resolve them, and then I don't have them anymore. I have different types. So I'm not repeating the same story. She goes, well, when do you need me? Well, I need you right now to be a friend, and shut up if you're afraid. No, I didn't want to tell her that. I'm like, you know, I'm sorry. I did you disservice. Here's the thing. Do you want to get over your house? Well, sure. Who doesn't? I says, well, let me introduce myself. I'm a soul coach. I'm a medicine woman. And that issue with that husband, you can da-da-da-da-da-da. And that issue with your daughter, da-da-da-da-da. I says, and then it's an ongoing thing that you do and live and practice and breathe it every day. And she didn't. She had to go immediately because something happened to her dog. And she didn't call me back for a full year. So then after a year, she called me up. She didn't say one thing about anything about her life. She started talking about positive things just so that I wouldn't bring that up. And it's not that I mean, if a person really wants to change it, that's great. There will be an opportunity to do so. I just don't want to, I don't need to do that anymore. So when I go to these events that the students have put up, you know, I'm going to go, but I'm also going to get bored silly to the extent because I love to live and breathe and walk and talk and do this all the time. Can I be something other? Yeah, Jen has seen that as well, but when people...
It's difficult for us, and I'm coming to the point where it's hard for me to do small talk.
Mm-hmm. And about, you know, if we want to brainstorm, I'm great with that too.
Right.
If we want to tell about creating your future, I'm all for that too. I just don't really like when we have to top dog each other. That's something that I really... What do I mean by that, Jen?
The one-upping. Oh, yeah, well, I had a bad day or whatever, or even I had a good day. You know, either scenario, and then...
Oh, another
and then, oh, yeah, well, you had a good day. Well, listen to this. I had this awesome experience. And then the next person... Yeah, so it's just kind of like that one-upping.
Even the one-upping on jokes.
Yep.
You know, it's like... That, to me... I'm all for talking. You know, I believe that I had to unlearn that I shouldn't share my stuff, because when I was little, it's like if I shared my happiness with somebody, then they would sit there and tell me, you know, they're mad at me because I've said it and how dare I brag, and it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to tell you how my life is. So I just walk around and say, oh my God, you should see what happened today. I was praying, and this is who I am, this is what I talk about. I'm not going to change it. How about if we take a quick break and we'll come right back?
Okay.
So, we are back today with our show. And Jen, what if people love this station so much and they want to show their support? How can they do that?
They can contribute to keep this, all these awesome programs going by going to www.sepianc.com, and on the top right area there are a couple options on how to donate or contribute to the station. So that's Sepia NC, SEPIANC.com.
Yep, and then go to /radio. I think that's
/radio.
/radio. Yes. Okay, sounds good. Now,
You said something about a blog.
oh, well, before we go to the blog, my daughter was overhearing that we were using Energize and Chakra. And she goes, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I got homework. So, she just trolleyed in here and, can I have some? Yes. So that's not fun. Okay, blogging. I am notoriously not good at keeping up with it. I have a lot of things in my mind. But I know I do it from time to time. You did one.
Yes.
And was that the Friends with Jesus one, or was there another one?
Well, I am looking to at least do it on a weekly basis. So I did one. I got back into it the last time I done it was in June, and I just had like a tremendously busy summer. So then I just am getting back into it. So last week I was talking about politics, and this week it was I love Jesus. Does that make me a freak? So because we had been talking about the idea of what happens if we say Jesus and that we actually get in alignment with Jesus. And there's a lot of controversy on the planet right now because of, I can't remember the name of the movie, and but it's an anti-Muslim movie, and that's caused some friction and violence in
I'm
the
a
Middle
minister.
East.
I'm ordained, but I don't like to tell people. Do you like to tell people?
No, that was part of it, because if I say I'm a Christian minister, bazinga, what do people instantly, there's a connotation just from saying that.
And then if they do find out and they'll ask me what's my background, what's my lineage, what's your religion? And I don't say it, oh, you're one of those. So it doesn't matter, we get labeled in such a great way. I says, you know why I don't tell people right off the bat? Is because people shut up and they keep their hells because they think that they're going to go to hell if they talk to somebody like me. And
Right.
I'm all about resolution. I'm all about helping you get connected. But I don't lead with it because I'm not going to sit there and do a Jesus jamming. That's just something I won't do. I believe in the power of love and faith and hope. Swinburne even was talking about remember that phrase you got on there from the Bible, John 14, or not 14, but...
Yeah, John 14, the peace that I give you is not the peace of from the world, that goes to the world.
Meaning. It's a different meaning, and that is what I know I've found, is that there's a whole other meaning. And when you start to, when people get it and they start to listen to you, or they follow in some way of, tell me what you know, because you're looking at them as a mentor, and and I always look at people and say, well, how'd you do it? Because they're a catalog of life. And then you have all the ones, the rotten fruit in the basket that can spoil the whole batch. How you've got, what's the one, Jim Jones, no, who was it? The glasses, you had.
Oh yeah,
glasses?
the Jim Jones that
yeah.
was like the Pied, to some degree, the Pied Piper, who, that was the awful situation of everybody drank the Kool-Aid, where that phrase comes from. He led all those people to do that, and it was just a horrific situation.
And so now everybody says, oh, you're a reverend, so you must be a joke. Or are you one of those where you're going to feed people your shit and it's not the truth? And what's interesting is that, thank God, we're rising above this, because this is a spiritual connection, and it has nothing to do with religion. It has everything to do with God. It has everything to do with the energy of the Christ consciousness. It has everything to do with the self-love, which is Sepia energy. It has everything to take the separation out. It is getting back in alignment. And when we have people, we project people to say nasty stuff, then what is very important about that is to understand why would one project that. For me it was, I don't have the right to say what I need to say. And it's funny because I put stuff on my wall and I created this person to yell and scream at me in caps about Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, and I'm like, what gives you the impression that I don't like Jesus? Really? I didn't say anything. I wasn't going to be inferior. I wasn't going to lose any power of it. So I, deleted it, and then they come back on, and, oh, you couldn't stand having my message up there because it's the truth, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, this person just wants to provoke me. Do I still need to do that? And nope, I did a little healing on it, and then it was done, and then I deleted that. And when I healed that I have the right to do whatever I want, now this person has been blocked on my one page, but can go to the fan page. Oh, they're happy all over the place. Oh, yay! Oh, this is so good. Thank you for sharing. But, okay, I'm not sure exactly what happened, except for the fact is that it's like, now this person wants to be my best friend. No, I don't need those silver platter people. I honestly don't. But it's like, really? That's interesting.
And something else that I was writing about is that that the reason why I don't want to tell people is that I will get, and this is a projection, and yes, I even wrote, I don't tell people, and yes, I'm aware, and that I'm healing. What do I need to heal? The first part is that people will talk about how angry they are at organized religion, the damage that it's done. They were burned by a church of some kind, and then they're just spewing all this stuff at me about organized religion. And it's like, well, yeah, in many ways I do agree, but for whatever reason, I'm part of this system, and some change needs to take place. And sometimes being part of the system is how change can happen. And the other part is that, oh, well, you don't look like a minister. And
God.
Thank you. That's a compliment.
Oh yeah, I love what you put in your blog.
Because Hollywood has this way of portraying ministers as 50-year-old men or 50 plus. So there's no way that I can achieve. Number one, I'm not 50, and even when I am 50, I still won't be able to achieve that.
You mean you're not going to grow one?
Exactly, because guess what? I'm female. And so, yeah, I don't look like their typical idea of what a minister looks like. Awesome. Good. Things are shifting. That's a form of transformation as well. But yeah, it's those, but yes, then all of a sudden, then they're on guard. Oh, they start monitoring what they have to say. Really? Really? And it's
I'm done compromising. I'm done monitoring. I told her, I says, look, if you're going to be controlled by everything, I says, we need to heal that. Because you need to go make a persona Facebook page so you can just be who you want to be without having to have that censorship going on. And it can suck when you have that censorship going on, because literally they're telling you that you don't have the right to be anything other than what they tell you. And that's what sucks, is that you can't be. Now, what I'm going to do is I have been told to draw a few cards about this weekend. And so the first card is about this past life. Nothing is greater than or less than I. And this...
so it sounds like balance.
Well, it probably is. Hold on, I gotta get to the little part of my book. So, the key phrase, nothing is greater or less than I. The place is in China, Japan, and India. The time was 483 BC to the present moment. And ruling planet was Neptune and Jupiter. The rules, the receptive mind and the linear thought. The traits, wise, mature, and compassionate. There is a tendency to mirror or absorb the energy of others. Analyzing the self makes it easier to understand the motivations and actions of others. Balance is of the utmost importance. Love is expressed in universal, non-personal way. So, if we are to realize that we are equal and living in a ecosystem, I should say, then one has to remember that there's magic and that there's a synchronicity, that there is just a serendipity way of doing it. There's no accents. There is just a way, a rhythm. The synchronicity, that is the main thing that I learned when I'm trying to shut off my abilities. I says, oh, okay, just show me how to do things. And the synchronicity of how things were falling into place, how it was lining up. And it just stood like a sore thumb, and that's who I was. But most of that gets lost when you're trying to live within your family. because everybody has a purpose. Everybody has to show the biggest mirror, and the biggest thing that you have to heal pops up within a family, the one that you're closest to, because your soul is taking that chance. Oh my God, I only got one chance this lifetime to do it. So it is usually the biggest mirror is the ones that you have in a daily activity with. So we have been learning that as we do use our tools every single day, and you become a spiritual human and really learn that once the hells are healed, that caudus nucleus is that joy returns, no effort of doing it, it just happens and you're more joyful. So Jen has been experienced with us that every day can be fun. Cooking, cleaning, watching TV, just having an adventure, learning curve, laugh because we don't know what we're doing, or laugh because we just created something awesome. It doesn't matter. And there was one event where, there was a family fighting and it felt unsafe. Then both of us, all of us, were feeling very much on edge. And the thing is that do we want to live that way? I haven't lived that way in so long. When I did have that closeness, it still was quite at bay. Before, when I was little, it was just all the time. Growing up, it was all the time. And now, it's since December, it's actually few and far between that something has to pop up. I don't waste it. When it pops up, I immediately take and look at it. So you got to experience it, of living a life free of hells. And when you get a chance to leave here, do you feel like you're stepping back in the matrix of bullshit? Or do you feel like that you can be safe and go out in that world and you can have the same environment no matter where you want? Or what?
Well, I would like to create that environment, but there's still some remnants or experiences that I have when I go out and I have different, participate in different events, and it's kind of like, I don't know if I really want to. I must hear. And so I come back. I make notes and say, okay, well, this is what happened, and with these particular people, and so I must be looking. I'm looking at judgment. I'm looking at having to be defensive or feeling attacked or different situations like that, and it really does at this point feel like remnants as far as what needs to be healed. They're not huge issues, and some people wouldn't even notice them because it just feels like that's what life is supposed to be like.
So let's put you back in the position before you started to really dive into this. What kind of was your everyday madness or calmness? Was it stress-free? Was it stress all the time? Was it just that you feel like you're on edge, always want to run? What was an average life?
Before I met you?
Yes, before you met me.
Before I met you, I was just, I was still identifying as clinically depressed, so I was on medication, and I was really in that emotional state. Everything was just a high or a low or manic or whatever you want to call it, that just felt out of control. I didn't feel like I had any control or say in my life situation. And
Were your friends like that too?
To some degree. I started, right before I came here, I was in theological school, so a lot of people were, training for the ministry. So, so that was good. I had those, that support system, and I could be supportive to them when needed. But it just, it really felt like, it just felt out of control, and that it was kind of like I was at the mercy of others, and what they wanted to do, and if I wanted to do something, we just healed the rights. Yeah, I didn't have the right to do that.
So did you feel like this isn't what the way life was for everybody? Everybody felt this way, everybody acted this way?
Oh, yeah, and
it's always a constant chaos, a bitch, I don't want to go to work, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that.
Exactly. Even in that school, and around, and before I went to graduate school, that's what it was. It was like figuring out life. That, this is what life is. Ooh, I don't want to participate. Ooh, I don't like that. Yeah, and just every day was hell, and you're at you got to play those mind games, because if you play mind games, at least then you're kind of a step above.
Yes, I mean, everybody thinks it has to be a freaking mind game. And everybody feels like you shouldn't do that, you should do it my way, and that is what we're eliminating. So then you get married, and then you met me. What was the biggest things that you were noticing? Like, he did not want you to be over here.
Right, well, that was, well, I met you before I got married, because I was still
Oh, that's right.
Going through the process of becoming ordained. And then, once that happened, then got married, and then we created that life. But yeah, he, because it was too far, had to drive, it cost money, the gas.
So it was a constant bitching every day.
Right, and like, oh, you're going to go over there, and you're not taking care of me. And yeah, the attention wasn't on him because I was creating a life outside the house. Mm-hmm. And it felt like I wasn't supposed to be doing that. Well,
so most of the time you're out of sync.
A lot of the time.
That's what relationships usually are, is based on being out of sync. Compromising is giving up something so that the other person will be happy, so that there can be the space where you can create harmony. And the main thing that I found to create harmony is that you want to create a safe space, but the part of you doesn't think you can if you keep functioning in that way, because your heart literally doesn't want to do certain things. You don't have the self-esteem, you don't have the right, you don't have the strength. And when I say don't waste it is when a negative thing happens, something's out of sync, and literally you can choose not to have that particular stuff that happens every single day. So when she started to see more of the fact that you don't have to create those hells, then what you're doing is that you're making a choice that I'd like to evolve from that space where I had to feel like it was unsafe, and I have to have sarcasm, I have to be this way, I have to be that way, I have to protect myself. It was so much energy to expend that there was really no time to have life, because you had to be so busy doing all these other things. And when you come back to the center of who you are, and you clean up that caudate nucleus so that joy just happens to return on its own, your relationships stay in sync. Like when I'm talking to my husband, we're on the same page, you know, we finish each other's sentences, we brainstorm, we move forward, we do this, we do that. When we're out of sync is like when there's old behaviors and habits. Like we have this thing we got to do this weekend, and so I said, well actually, can you do this for me? And he says, yeah, let me help you. I says, okay, so there's a way that I want it done, and then there's a way that he'll do it. That's fine. But first let me explain the way that I know how to do it, the way I've been doing it, and so that you don't turn around and have to ask me a billion questions, because I won't be there when you need to put it up or to do this work. And a lot of times it's, yeah, I already got it. So what's the point? I don't need to continue. Because you're talking about controlled... Alrighty. Now... So I was talking about being in and out of sync, and that's the way the relationship is. It doesn't have to be about choosing sides. It's about taking the negativity out. It is taking that spark, the intensity out. And when you resolve that out of the caudate nucleus, then all of a sudden you can create joy and you become in sync again. And I can always tell, like I'll be talking to somebody and we're out of sync because they'll start taking offense, and I will just step back and say, we're out of sync. I love you and I want to be in sync, but right now we can't talk, so we'll just wait. And then I will and walk away, you know, and I'll do what I need to do. Now what's funny is that how much are you controlled by words that you don't even know it? And this is where it's a transition. It is done. You get to speak, or I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to play. So
anyway.
Yeah, anyways. Exactly, that's one of them. All right.
Okay.
And, you know, so those are funny, and we don't even realize that we're programmed. Like the other day, my husband and I were talking, and I had to talk about my dream. And I'm telling him all, oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. And then he said something real quick, and then I said, anyways, so that I could jump back into the story, because I was transitioning that part of my brain, because I forgot what I said, because I had heard what he said. And the next thing you know, he's saying, oh, well, I'm going to go do this, this, and this, and that. And I'm thinking, I'm in the middle of my story. Stop interrupting your beginning of your sentence in the middle of my sentence. You know, like, well, why do you do that? And without realizing it, we had caught it on audio or a video or something.
audio.
And it was hilarious because I'm listening to it and I'm like, there it is.
There's
Holy crap.
There's a transitional phrase that he got permission commanded, or he gets to
I
go.
said, all right, and he grew
Left.
up with that's what, oh, it means I have to leave.
I'm done.
And I was like, whoa, which from my end, he was disrespecting me, and it was so cool to actually hear that, and the epiphanies that just was like popping all over the place. So now when he says, okay, he sometimes does mean, stop, I don't want to do this anymore, or he could be just saying okay, because it could be just a command to himself, I don't know, like, anyways, let's continue. So have you ever had that happen to you, when you were in your relationships with people? Do you notice any cues that people do? Because we can take offense so easily with them that we drop out of sync, and we don't even know that they're there.
Well, I was just thinking of something that my ex-husband, it wasn't a transitional phrase. It was...
My feet are cold.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, what if I create electricity and touch there? Sorry, disrupt myself.
It was, so why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Or, meaning that I was to blame. So that's a different form of being programmed. And he could have meant it in an innocent way, but I was so used to growing up that, well, where'd you put my keys, or where'd you put my briefcase? And it's like, how in the hell am I supposed to be responsible for what you're doing? So that's a negative way.
So my husband says, okay. So he's listening.
And I'm like, okay, we're doing something.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Even I start getting...
Oh yeah, because you find the rhythms of
Exactly.
starting, it's like
Funny.
dogs and animals, or animals and their parents, or their owners, they all start to look alike, and then you start creating these behaviors with one another. How does that associate with it?
Yeah, where am I in that picture?
Behaviors. We happen to look alike, talk like, or whatever. Me and her already look like to some degree anyway,
think
but
that word.
that just happened, soul to soul issue.
Yeah.
Hey, who are
Twins.
you? Okay. See, there's the transition.
Anyway.
And yeah, that just means I'm stumped. But it does, it happens, and what you need to watch out for is that, simply, he heard that word, all right, and for me, I'm like, okay, what were you just thinking? All right, I heard you, I acknowledge you, but now I gotta remember what the hell I was just talking about, because I really need to finish what I was saying, because I'm stuck in limbo, and the self-talk won't shut up, and the emotions are there, and I gotta stop! And so I have to make sense of my world, and that's how we do it, but I take it the next step further, and instead of just analyzing and talking about it, and having somebody else to do it, I sit down and write down what I need to do or say, and then tap out what is the common theme or the thread that seems to have me lose power. Like simmering. This is after somebody gives you a cue, and then all of a sudden you're like, my husband would say, give me a cue. I can't even remember what he would say. But all of a sudden I meant that I had to stop what I was doing and go march to his beat and do what he has to do. And like he was trying to find where I put my Hershey's Kisses. He bought me a little tub of Hershey's Kisses. Oh no, that wasn't Hershey's Kisses. They were stars. Chocolate stars. And I don't know. I mean, it takes me forever to eat my chocolate. For him, he probably had the whole thing gone less than 30 minutes. And so I used to have him just by my stand over here next to the computer, and it wasn't there. So he couldn't find my chocolates. And so I'm sitting there talking about subject. Without him knowing it, his thoughts will go off in his head, and all of a sudden I will be creating the chemical peptides, and now I've got to look for these damn chocolates. And so I'll get up and start moving around, and he goes, well, you don't have to look at the chocolates. And I'm thinking, I can't help it. Now my chemical peptides have said, I need to find these damn chocolates because you're going crazy because you want chocolates. You're like a dog. Where's the sausage? Where's the bacon? Bacon, where's the bacon? So I finally find the chocolates, and he's a happy camper, and so am I. But another thing is that we don't even realize how much we are entangled into certain things. Jen was watching, we were watching a TV show, and there was a cute guy on there. And immediately I went, woo! I go, Jen, I can tell what you want to do.
What are you, psychic?
They're very much an intuitive.
It's not really psychic when it's obvious.
And so I turn around and I look at her, and she's like, stop it. You're not supposed to know that. I'm sorry. this happen? And then she'll be talking in her head, and I'll turn around and go, yes, yes, you can do that. And she's like, stop it! She wanted something to eat the other day. I go, yes, yes, you really do want that. She's like, so I know that I need to shut up so that, you know, you can actually have a conversation with me. What did he say there?
Stars young, chocolate is not made to sit around. It is made to be eaten.
Yeah, by Scott. He would tell us these stories about how his brother was teasing him intentionally, or the dad, and then he would find their stash, and then he'd eat it, and then put the wrapper back, look so pretty, and then a month later when finally those people would eat their candy, hey, where'd it go? And Scott is so funny because he had walked out here as we were watching TV. He'd come out and shut the door, and then I happened to come out and do something, and his mouth was going. I said, "Wait a minute, what did you get into?" And he looked so guilty. And I'm not going to tell you how I know. And so then I go up to him and I have to pinch off his nose so that he has to open his mouth. And
that's the mom thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I want to know what's in that mouth. And then, of course, I can't smell, so that does not help. You know, sometimes I can smell, sometimes I can't. And then she hollers from the other room, "He's into your chocolate stars!" I'm thinking, I didn't hear that. I thought, chocolate? Yeah, that's probably it. Chocolate. Where would I have chocolate? And then finally she says it again. I go, oh, that little fart. And then I had chocolate, and I took that and carried it with me into the room. We're sitting there watching TV. And, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. So I started to walk out the door. I turn around and come back. And then he says, why don't you just give him to Jen? And it's not that you don't trust Jen. No, because I know you're going to go harass her. No, because I know he would have.
Yes.
Somehow he would talk to you, come over there, sneak, take the candy. You know, and she doesn't need to be my guard dog over the candy. So I took him with me.
Well, it's funny because I can also tell when he's fibbing.
Oh, yes.
As my grandma would say, you're fibbing.
You're learning the trait, too.
Well, as I tell him, you can't bullshit a bullshitter.
Yeah, so. You knew that right off the bat, even without his tell signs.
Exactly.
Oh, yes, tell signs. That's definitely it. So, as you begin to understand this weekend coming up, you know what I noticed? I think the shift of the quickening has been going so fast, has now started to slow down.
It's also I was also going to say that it's the autumnal equinox this weekend too.
Tell me more.
It's the shift of the season. It's going from summer to autumn or fall this weekend, the equinox.
You know, maybe that's exactly what I'm feeling, but I also feel like, this is my barometer of how they showed me. If you go back 50 years and look at all the stars, people were thin as rails, thinner than some of the models are on TV. And so then the bodies start to shift, and people says, oh, it's because of all the food additives and the GMO and all this other crap.
There's an overweight epidemic, and
and then what I noticed was that the reason why there's overweight epidemic, it has nothing to do with the food or anything. It has to do with the consciousness of how we're tired of the bullshit. We can't make it stop, so then we have to put on extra weight because our bodies will not produce that lipase enzyme to cut the crap, to cut the fat, to stop having it, and so then we end up storing it because our bodies go into this emergency mode. And now I am watching people that are actually looking like their body structure is that they're thinner again. Not because they're starving themselves or exercising themselves to death. It was actually a body structure that is taking place. And more people. So I feel like we're going back to that more healthier alignment for our soul and our body. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
You get to watch me sneeze on air. If you watch it, I mean.
Or listen.
Oh, yes. So, okay, what?
I think she's talking about body structure, not the sneeze.
Oh. Okay, well, either way, I bless you.
Did you make a wish on her sneeze?
Thank you, dear. Okay, so, you were telling a really fascinating story as we get ready to close up this thing. Oh, there it is.
I'm like, my little emoticon didn't show up.
No, it just looked like two white dots.
I know, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the ghost
Turning
channel.
the table. Does anybody know about that history? Does anybody understand where that turn of the phrase
Oh,
came
when somebody
from?
is going to turn the tables on you.
Yes. So, go ahead, Jen. Tell us this fascinating story before we close.
Okay, so going to all the different historical places that I've been to around the country, and I think I learned this when I was in Salem, of all places. So back in the time period of 1500, 1600, when this country was new to us. It wasn't new, it was new to us. So the colony, they had their table, and of course everything was done on the table. They had to chop things, cut things, make things, do everything on the table, but they structured it in such a way that they could flip the table so that when company came over, then they had this nice table to serve a meal on. But then, so you knew where you stood as far as what the table looked like. So if you came over and you were going to eat this fancy meal and it was on the side where they did all their daily chores, it was obvious that the tables were turned on you.
I think that's quite cool how you brought that up. We were talking about that, and I can't remember what it brought up. But what we want to tell you is, remember, take and have a spark. Spark for life, because once you have a spark, then you're going to have a thrive, and then you will stop being in that oh my God mode of that I can't do this, I'm not going to make it. So we want to say thank you and love you and bless you, and we will see you on Monday at
Evening.
8 p.m., 8 to 10 p.m., and call in. That'd be great. We'd have some questions. All right, peace out.
Okay, have a great weekend.